Yo, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about Africa. Let's talk about the African Bitcoin Conference. Let's talk about censorship. Let's talk about Lightning Network. Let's do it all right now. So first things first, I want you guys to think about this in your head. Look at what politicians and governments are doing. Not what they are saying, but what are they doing? So we just had the US, we had Japan go visit Ukraine in the last couple weeks. We had the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, visit Africa. I think it's been about a month ago. I think she went to Senegal or Ghana or something like that to like embrace that that Africa is going to be the continent that kind of pushes economic growth for the entire world. Look at Xi Jinping just visited the Russian leader, Putin, right? So think about what they're doing, not what they're saying. Give you guys a clear idea where my head's at. So what we're seeing right now is Africa, and what we've seen, let's back up a little bit. Africa has the most natural resources out of any continent in the entire world. But, when you think about this, but the most natural resources in terms of value, in terms of money, right, is number one, Russia, and number two, the United States. We're talking about value as in money, right? So even though Africa has the most abundance of natural resources, the actual value that they're getting and receiving for this transaction is almost like 1,000 to 1. They're not getting any money for it. 1,000 not being on their side, 1,000 being on either Russia or United States or any other countries in the entire world. And Africa is a very big continent, guys. But I don't know how many countries are in Africa. It's quite a few. And there are developed parts of Africa, guys. There's South Africa. There's, Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana. Some of these parts of African continent and these countries some of these countries that I just mentioned are developed. But for the majority, let's take away all the imaginary lines of all the countries in Africa, or all the countries in the continent of Africa, and let's just look at Africa as a continent as a whole. It has a ton of natural resources. Now, what has been going on China's side in Africa for the last basically 10 to 15, 20 years? They have been building out cellular network infrastructure, all sorts of communication infrastructure. All of it's Chinese. It's all Huawei. It's Huawei, or however you pronounce it, down in Africa. All their stuff is Chinese, basically. The way they pay for stuff is Chinese on QR codes, that kind of thing. So we see Yellen about a month or two ago race to Senegal. I mean, this lady's like fucking 80 years old, and she's going all the way to Africa because they're trying to. These are power plays by geopolitical powers. So now that you kind of have an idea of where my argument is kind of established from, just basically the world is fucking over the whole entire continent of Africa. We've been doing it for thousands of years. We've exploited their resources. We've used their resources for personal gain. And we're not the only country that's done this. It's been quite a few countries that have done this very thing. And if they haven't done it directly, they've done it indirectly by purchasing the natural resources from either Russia, China, or the United States. So nobody's excluded. No country's excluded out of this, basically, except for all the countries in Africa. So it's really bad. But what we're seeing right now is the Kenya president, the country of Kenya in Africa. I'll play this little video here for you real quick here. Basically, there's an oil and a petrol and jet fuel supply, diesel, all these. There's basically fuel shortages in Kenya. Let me just get to the point. Fuel shortages in Kenya that are because oil cartels are withholding US dollars. They're holding US dollars. So it's basically making the crisis that they're already experiencing worse because there's no trade going on, right? So let me
for the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
So he's talking about a couple weeks. So this might be a mainstream push for Bitcoin Lightning Network to be basically in Africa, basically like using the African continent as basically like lab rats. I know that sounds really bad, but it's true. I'm talking about like, this is the Bitcoin experiment on the masses through Lightning Network. I'll tell you why. The speakers, half this speaker list, I don't know everybody on it, but I know a lot of them. This is the little grandfather's daddy's boy from the Chicago Board of Trade. His grandfather was the top chairman on this. So this is like generation of wealth type people. He looks like a pussy to me, but a lot of these people are just Lightning Network people, basically. You got people from Cash App, like basically like if they aren't for the Lightning Network, their underlying reason is to be part of the Lightning Network as a corporation that is receiving payments for opening the payment channel. So basically, like I said in the live stream today, I was talking about this kind of issue. Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter. I went in on the live episode to basically, kind of touch on this, but I want to touch on it even more. So just to give you an idea of how like the Bitcoin Lightning Network works and why it's so bad for the world, is basically if I'm a buyer, you're a sender, one of us has to open up a payment channel on behalf of the transaction to take place on the Lightning Network. That's how it works, basically. And I think the idea here is like, theoretically, they want everybody to basically act as like a node on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. But really, it's like not really acting like a node, because the person who settles the payment is the actual node operator in terms of the actual on-chain Bitcoin transaction. So if you're new to crypto, maybe that confused you even more than me bringing up Lightning Network, but I'm really trying to explain this to you guys if you're new to crypto in the most simplistic way. So to make a Bitcoin Lightning Network payment, first there's a big problem. You have to give KYC, know your customer. So that keeps everybody kind of tracked, right? But there's also like a minimum deposit, and a lot of these people in Africa aren't even going to have the money to open up a Lightning Network wallet. Now, say they do. Let's say it's a perfect world, and there's some way that these large corporations just gift them. I know it sounds weird, but gives them Lightning Network Bitcoin money, which they basically are letting them borrow money, right? That's not even real money that they're getting, because the whole Lightning Network crypto engine in itself is not real. It's not real Bitcoin, because that Bitcoin that's on Lightning Network will never go outside of the hands of the payment channel operators, aka large scale corporations, PayPal, Amazon, whoever involves themselves in opening up the payment channel. So backtracking a little bit, this is how Lightning Network works. I want to send you Bitcoin Lightning Network tokens, okay? Let's just say that, because it's not really Bitcoin, okay? It's not. You're the receiver, I'm the sender. One of us has to open up a payment channel. It has to be, there's no way. So the person, let's say I open up the payment channel. It's the only way it works. I open up the payment channel, or let's say you open up the payment channel. One of us goes offline, or both of us goes offline. The money gets reverted back to whoever opens up the payment channel. So this is problematic, right? Because if for some reason I go offline, or we both go offline, and you opened up the payment channel, but I'm the one that's sending you the money, and it hasn't been confirmed through the proper amount of confirmations and whatnot, you don't get, I don't know that my money is there, and you're getting the money just because you opened up the payment channel. But here's the catch. No, neither one of us is ever going to open up a payment channel unless, like, I buy you lunch and you're giving me money back or something like that. Maybe that might be a reason too. But when you go to like, I used the example of Bob's Burger Stand in the live stream this morning. Bob's Burger Stand, if I go to buy a burger from Bob's Burger Stand, neither one of us open up the payment channel for the transaction to happen. In fact, a third-party company like PayPal, Amazon, Cash App, Venmo, any of these payment processing companies that we already see today will be the people that open up the payment channels with me and you just to facilitate the payment, right? So, you know, I can't talk about all this in the episode, but in short, what this means is that when this transaction, let's say the transaction, none of us go online, you know, we're in a perfect world where, you know, things don't fail, people don't go offline, payments don't go offline. So our payment, my payment with Bob's Burger Stand to buy a burger gets start to finish. Bob's Burger gets the money, gets the Bitcoin, it gets withdrawn from my Bitcoin Lightning wallet. But here's what happens to that. The actual blockchain of Bitcoin is a basically long history book of digital signatures. It's a long chain of blocks that have digital signatures inside those blocks, which basically a transaction is, for simple purposes, it's just a hash. It's just a digital signature on a block that's put into a block, miners mine the block, and it gets added to the chain. Basically since the Genesis block, since 2009. So what Lightning Network and how it differs from this idea of what I just explained is that the person who opens up the payment channel, which is these third-party companies like PayPal, Strike Wallet, this guy right here, because you're opening up a Lightning Network wallet. So once every so often, I don't know exactly the time frame on this, but every so often, we can say whatever time it is, the payment channel gets closed, and then that all those transactions that happened within that Lightning Network node, you know, basically just in the Lightning Network realm of payments, those payments literally are all still in there. It doesn't matter who has them in a sense, because it doesn't really matter to the overall scope of Bitcoin, because the actual Bitcoin chain, once Lightning Network closes the payment channel and all these payments close, and they never close because they're always simultaneously. The idea with Lightning Network is like there's tons of different payments, but I've read there's not enough throughput and it's not even scalable as it is, so it just simply doesn't work. But let's just say it did work for the theoretical idea of trying to give you. So let's say all these payments are simultaneously being closed out by Strike. Let's say all these Strike wallet is handling all these payments. We don't know what's really going on. All we know is there's now more Bitcoin in my Bitcoin Lightning Network wallet. There's less Bitcoin in my Bitcoin Lightning Network wallet. We just see what's on the front end of everything, right? So we don't really know what's going on. But what's really going on is that on the back end, once these large scale corporations that are opening up these payment channels to let us use our money with, say, a vendor or a friend or anybody who else wants to transact, they're opening up the payment channel. And once that payment channel is closed, right? We finish our transaction with the burger place, whatever, or me buying my friend lunch. We're done settling our payment. That channel is closed, and that Lightning Network money that is in that Lightning Network, it's still there. But what happens is the processor, when they close out at any time they want, basically, that total amount of Bitcoin then gets settled on behalf of Strike or whatever other company, PayPal, whatever other company opens up the payment channel. They are closing this on chain. So they're the only really ones that see how much Bitcoin is basically being transacted on the different SegWit wallets, right? Because they're the actual people controlling the actual. Think of Lightning Network as large wallets that we are transacting with other individuals and businesses within someone else's wallet. That's essentially the best way to describe Bitcoin Lightning Network. Is we think we're spending Bitcoin, and the people that we're doing business with think we're transacting with real Bitcoin, but really we're just acting under the supervision of somebody, basically a giant Lightning Network node. But it's really just like, it's not really your money, because the money itself is not on chain. The only person that puts the final transaction on chain is the person who closes out the payment channel, which is going to be essentially these large scale corporations like this dirtbag right here, who's trying to create these wallet service providers for a Bitcoin Lightning Network. So that might have sounded really confusing, and it is confusing, and it took me a long time and in parts of it that I said might not be 100% accurate, because it's so fucking confusing is the whole essential reason it doesn't work. Because the original reason for Bitcoin was invented was for everything to be on chain. So there would literally be a history of every single transaction known to man. And you can be anonymous in this fashion, because you can open up a random wallet and still transact, but that transaction still gets transcribed into a block in the form of a digital signature, which is a hash. Whether you're using a legacy, like, it doesn't matter what wallet you're using, it goes in to the Bitcoin blockchain, and miners will mine your transaction. And you can go back and look at your transaction for a cup of coffee you bought, 50 years from now if you want. And that's the beauty of this, because the whole idea of Bitcoin was for it to be a public ledger, right? And there are ways to be private on the public ledger, but these people, and they really gripe me, they really, really do gripe me, guys. They know what Bitcoin was made for. They know the importance of the decentralization and non-censorable beauty aspects of this, and they are purposely exploiting it. And that's why this Bitcoin conference is so much bigger, it seems like, in Africa than it even is here in the United States, is because they are trying to capture the natural resources of Africa, and they are trying to capture this put it into Lightning Network. That way they can control all the energy and all the natural resources of the world. So it's a very big thing that's happening with this, guys. So just, if you understand what I'm saying, please, just understand that this is a lot bigger than just people going down to Africa to try to promote Bitcoin. It's so much bigger than that. And these people really are, they're just not good for crypto. So I'm hoping, and I'm really hoping that enough people, I know enough people are gonna see this video, but I'm hoping that enough people will eventually get to the right answers about what is going on and how bad their countries are getting fucked over in this giant continent of Africa, and how much better they could be if they just realized on what cryptocurrency really is. And if anybody from Africa watches this video, it's not likely, because I know my subscriber list is mostly here in the United States, but these people need to be liberated. They need to have they need to be paid with on-chain transactions for what their resources are worth. So, I know this video is a little bit dragged out at this point. I can just feel it in my words, but I hope the points got across to you guys, that this is the whole idea this stuff was made. And this makes me think that this whole Bitcoin Lightning Network thing is just a a payment system that has essentially been made to not work purposely for the fact that it hinders people from actually using crypto as a payment system, because it's such a nightmare to think about how I explain Lightning Network. Can you imagine if you tried to explain this to somebody with no crypto knowledge at all, and the government just says, hey, we're abandoning our currency, we're abandoning US dollars on the black market, you're using Bitcoin now, here's your wallet providers, it's this dirtbag here, Strike, and a couple other Bitcoin Lightning Network wallets, and they're connected, intertwined with the government. Basically, these people have nothing they can do. So it's a big deal, guys. I hope that hit home run with you. I tried to explain it the best way I can. It's confusing as hell topic. There's a guy, if you like the technical stuff, his name's Bitcoin Sophia. Check out some of his videos. He's on YouTube. He hasn't made videos in quite a while, but if you're more of a technical type person, I recommend Bitcoin Sophia. He'll explain Lightning Network in much more detail than I can even do. But in general, I hope that you kind of have an idea of how it works and how it's not good for Bitcoin, how hasn't been good for Bitcoin for years. And it's the reason I don't really promote BTC Core on this channel as much as I would like to. I would really like to come to you guys and say, hey guys, Bitcoin BTC Core is the true crypto. But unfortunately, it just hasn't been like that. So I've been kind of, on the sidelines, going with coins like Bitcoin Cash, BSV, Monero, Dash, Zcash, just because of the simple reasons I don't like these fuckers. So we'll see what happens, guys. Hopefully people have enough self-awareness to figure out this stuff on their own. But it took me a long time to kind of get where I'm at, and I feel like I still don't know everything. So it's very hard for me to grasp the idea that people are just going to be able to jump into crypto and learn about this stuff overnight, because there's such a censored version of Bitcoin now, and the people that are behind it. None of these people were here a few years ago. A lot of these people, pretty much every single one of these people that I do know were not. I've been in crypto longer than they have. So these people are all new, and they're here for a reason. They're here to not destroy Bitcoin. They're here to control Bitcoin. Know the difference. So we'll see what happens, guys. This conversation is definitely turning into a tangent. I feel it, so I'm gonna go and cut it off before I go too far down the rabbit hole. But hope this at least made sense a little bit to you guys, and I hope you guys understand why Bitcoin Lightning Network is not good for crypto, not good for Bitcoin, not good for Africa, and not good for the world. So catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Later.